We have 66%, I guess, 8 out of 12.
Oh,
Well, let's see. Isabel has her 30th anniversary. And
oh.
so she's away on a sort of new honeymoon kind of trip after being very pressured at work. Yoga is in the Netherlands, so it's very late and where she is, and she's jet lagged, so I don't know if she'll make it. She was gonna see if she could. Anybody know of anybody else who's missing?
Yeah.
Kate
Roberto and Kate
and Mary.
and Mary.
Mary.
Oh,
Well, maybe they'll be joining us. I don't know that they. Masumi, was Kate planning to come?
I heard her say so.
Good. That's good enough for me.
I wonder, since it's Valentine's Day, if we want to do a heartfelt centering.
Oh, I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yes, yes. Wonderful.
And I think maybe you could lead us, Annette.
Sure, yeah. Well, my favorite thing is the hand on the cheek, like on the jaw, like just hold your face, and the other hand on your. And sometimes people prefer the second hand to be on the belly rather than the face, but you can just see what feels good. And just feeling the touch of your hands. Kind of some self-love, really. And you might bring your attention to your heart space with some presence. And you might like to breathe through your heart and imagine that the breath comes right into the heart and comes out from it. And then maybe in honor of, I don't know, is it Bebe Simon? Am I saying her name right? Bibi? Bibi or
Bibi, yes.
Bibi, right. You know, her love exercise, we could invite memory of something that's easy to love. Or maybe someone. We could make it a person. Whatever. And then you might just check if your body needs anything else. Or maybe even what wants attention in today's meeting. Maybe you have something you want to bring, or maybe you want to ask your body now. and inviting you to come back to the group in your own time. When you're ready.
Thank you, Annette.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Here's Kate came while we were doing that.
Mm.
Uh, Jim and Rachel have their pictures up. I'm curious about what people found when you were looking for something easy to love.
I found my 3-year-old nephew who, for some reason, a few weeks ago, started saying, delicious, hum.
So, I found my cat, Papageno, who died about 3 years ago, and I used to think he was an incarnation of Buddha because he rejected nothing, no experience, no person. I miss him.
Oh, wow.
I thought of my cats, but then they aren't easy to love right now. My little guy bit Ellen, and she was
Oh.
just out of some macho playfulness that he was feeling in the moment, and she was so hurt emotionally as well as physically. And Jeannie, who I love, insisted on running away in the country, and and was killed. So they're very, those
Ooh.
cats are very beloved, but hard to love. And then all the other things I was thinking of, I love very much, but they're hard to love. Then the thing that I came up with was the view out my window when I wake up in the morning. There's a church steeple. I think I've shown you those photos with glass building and the reflection behind it. And that's very easy to love when I first wake up and I look at it.
Mine was a cat and my 18-month-old grandson. Yeah.
Pets and little ones.
Yeah. Easy, easy.
Marvin, do you want to share what came?
Well, I was thinking about an ex-German girlfriend from New York. She had beautiful flowing blonde hair, very curly, very curly.
Hmm.
But I was also thinking of a strange Valentine I got today. It was very surprising to me. A very likable Spanish man in one of my support groups sent me the Valentine, but unfortunately, about 6 months ago, I had to ask him to leave the group because he had created a enormous fuss in the group and frightened other people.
Hmm.
And it was very unfortunate.
And was that Valentine easy to love?
Well, it was so surprising to me. It included 3 roses in the icon, and he had a strange quality. Every week he would bring in a gift of food for the group. We met in person. We meet in person. But he would always say the gift was from Anonymous. He would never take responsibility. So he was a character. And, you know, I wouldn't have thought of him otherwise, but for this strange Valentine. I also had another Valentine today. It's also surprising, from somebody on a dating site that I'm eHarmony. And she wrote us a weird message. She said, "Oh, I accidentally sent you this." So what should I make of that?
And to somebody else, like she sent it via the dating app?
I'm not I met her, and actually we had a plan to meet tomorrow, but I had to postpone it because I found out I have a dental appointment at that time.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
Yes, Mary.
Hey, Mary.
Mary,
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. I
Okay.
just finished work.
Did a centering, and some people were sharing what came to them. What was something easy to love.
Something easy to love. Oh my goodness. There's so many things. I have been constantly photographing these Christmas amaryllis that can't stop blooming. I just love it.
Mm. Mm. Wow.
Mine's just budding now. It's so weird. It blooms after Christmas.
Mine doesn't bloom.
Hmm.
Kate, did you think of something easy to love? We're happy you're here today and happy you're here too, Mary.
I went back to my hometown last month. I took something with me, and I don't know what do you call this? I don't know.
An acorn, looks like.
I think a pine cone.
A pine cone, yes.
Oh, okay, pine cone. This is from a tree of in my hometown. I took it with me, and I guess this is something easy to love.
Mm.
It took me 3.5 hours flying to going back, and
Oh, it's far away.
it's far away. It's snowed heavily,
Ooh,
Wow.
and I took it with me, and I smell it. I feel it's like I'm still in my hometown, and I was still that little girl.
Oh. Is your hometown easy to love? Or is it complicated?
It is. It is. I was born in a small village. It's very easy to love. The hills, the springs, the trees, flowers, wild flowers.
Mm. Love to see pictures.
Yes.
I don't know if I can find one. Pictures. Oh, the everything is covered with snow now. Okay. Maybe this one. Right. This is the pine tree covered by snow.
Oh, wow.
Lot of pine cones. Wow.
Yes,
Wow. Beautiful,
I
beautiful.
took one with me. And yeah, others. This is the city covered by snow. Everything is.
Mm.
No, there's. Oh, I also went back to this to buy some apples. They
Ah.
were out and put there. Okay.
I think Roberto is arriving.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you.
We, Masumi was mentioning, hi, Roberto.
Hello, Roberto. Welcome.
You're muted.
Hear you.
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I didn't have the link and the new password. I just didn't have it.
Mm.
Susan used the old one, right?
Me? Old one?
I used the old one,
I
Oh,
use the old, I use the old one,
and the
The
new
old
one didn't
One
work.
works?
right?
So isn't the new one
it's for the website.
a
believe.
Dutch name? We have a
Yeah.
Dutch word that I can't remember, of course.
Jim, isn't that one for the website,
y-
the Dutch one?
Yeah, that's for the website. You don't need it for the link. I sent Roberto an invite. That's how he got his.
Yes.
Huh.
Could you send us all the password for the site? Our site, our website. Isn't that the Dutch word?
Yeah,
God knows what that was.
I think Yoka sent everybody
Did she send it?
that.
FetSpar,
Do
Yes.
you mind saying
capital
it again?
capital KWETSBAAR.
Put it in the chat if you wouldn't mind. Jim, do we have an Instagram page for community empowerment?
No,
I think it would be very fun, this next part of our of our leadership training will be doing reaching out more to, doing more projects and stuff. And it would be great to have an Instagram page. And Masumi said that she would love it for people to see Kate's art. And then I was thinking that we could put our art, photographs, sayings, poems, all of the things that we might want to share.
well, here's Kate's picture of me.
Oh, really? Oh, I recognize you.
So I don't have it. That the picture,
You have to show non-video participants. If you click on your three little dots,
okay.
the little profile picture.
How are you, Roberto?
I'm sorry, Lynn.
How are you?
I'm a little frazzled, frustrated. And
Oh, from having trouble.
yes, and you
Mm.
know, here sitting in a, I know that the group is very forgiving and patient. So I'm trying to say to myself, you know, relax, nothing is going to happen, you know, and it will be fine. And then how I can, you know, translate that into my life, you know, in situations where I go into panic and feel
Yeah.
like I'm there's people, I'm not able to be present, you know. So it just helps me to kind of, I mean, to have a space where um, you won't take it the wrong way, and then I can relax about it.
So maybe you need all of us to reassure that little one, no, nothing bad will happen if
Yes.
you're a little late. I know that feeling of having to calm down your body, that sort of startle reaction.
Yes. And very familiar place too, you know, very much. I've gotten better at it. I'm much um, more um, kind of I pace myself, you know, in stressful situations. So I just kind of so I won't get into this panic mode. It helps a lot. I'm able to do better. I would say in the last couple of years, I think, and then I also noticed too that, and I think this is the. I mean, I always been sensitive, but I think that I feel that I think is focusing and also the partnership that I'm my access to my feelings are becoming faster,
Mm.
and then so it's kind of scary to me because it's just I was like, oh my god, I am having these things, you know, where is it coming from, or so it's, you know, it's kind of it's good, it's great. I think I mean, you know, just as far as helping me to, you know, getting in touch and processing.
You're more in touch and your feelings are making themselves known. But
Yes.
then there's also this anxious part. You
Yeah.
know, my anxious part like that is like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. Not that I say those words, but it's this wild feeling of going to get in trouble.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of taking a lifetime, you know, to kind of decipher that and getting a hold of it, you know, and not allowing to throw you of guilt, you know,
Of
this feeling
throw
about,
you-
you know,
Say
getting
that
into trouble.
of guilt,
No, this throwing
Yes.
you out of guilt, you know, like
out of,
Yeah.
out of,
Filter.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Got that.
and
Mm.
It reminds me of a story that that I find so interesting of a guy in World War One, and he has a dream that he's walking down the hall toward his classroom door as a little kid, and he's terrified because he's late for class, and he's terrified of the teacher, and he opens the door and wakes up, and he's so relieved to find that it's only the Germans with guns pointed at him. It's not this teacher.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
What does that bring for you, Susan?
well, I wonder, I mean, his dream, the reality is that it's the Germans. That's not part of the dream.
No, not
I
at all.
understand it, right? I know that feeling of waking up from a dream and you think it's real for a while, and it's waking up from an awful dream. And then the relief when you start to realize it's not, you know, it's not a reality in the way that the Germans are. I mean, it's like worse than the Germans, that
Mm.
feeling. That's what
Yeah,
I associate it to.
yeah,
And dreams can be much worse than
right.
actual life.
I mean, not to monopolize. I had a very scary dream. Um, it was Sunday to this Monday, you know, overnight. I was somebody had died. I don't know who it was, but I went to this staircase, up the staircase. It was very steep, and I got to the landing, to the top of the last step, and then there was a man there. Kind of look, he was like me, a little Hispanic, you know, dark skin, and then and then he came to hold me by my arm, and then I realized, oh, he's going to kill me. He's going to throw me down the stairs. There's no way out. I mean, and I was moving around, and I could tell, you know, he's stronger than me. And I said, you know, he's going to push me down the stairs. And then I woke up, and I was so scared, you know. And then I was always, is it a dream? No, it's reality. And then, you know, there's relief that it was a dream, but I was afraid to go back to sleep because sometimes I kind of continue with the dream. So I couldn't sleep. It was 4:30 in the morning, so I never slept. I was right awake and my mind was racing. But yeah, it was really very real, very scary.
Sounds very scary,
Yeah.
Roberto. I was wondering how you, don't know, how you helped yourself, if you could, if you did or didn't, comforted or brought yourself out of the dream or
I
the
think
dream.
kind of realizing that it was a dream was a big relief. But I was trying to understand it, I think, what it meant, or um, and I was thinking, oh, maybe it's maybe a part of me that is afraid of my, you know, perhaps anger, you know.
Mm,
Um, I thought,
mm.
that maybe is bigger than me. You know,
Yeah.
so um, so just it was a, you know, it was a, I guess the fact that I was afraid to go back to sleep, that was the, you know, and it was warm too, and I was, and the bed was too warm, and so I keep trying to, you know, fall back asleep, um, but I couldn't. I just, and then I just, my mind was drifting everywhere, you know. So just really, just the it was so vivid, you know. That was the scary part. Very vivid, you know, very alive, you know. You could feel, you know, just the, you know, the fear, you know, the strength of this man's hand.
Yeah. I was struck by that part where you recognized he was stronger than you. And this part, this something is stronger than you.
I don't know a lot about working with dreams, but I think it's one of Jenlin's questions is to ask or feel into in that dream where the help is.
Mm.
And I wonder if you sense into it, Roberto, if there is some help somewhere in that.
The help afterwards, you mean?
No, during the dream, like in the dream, if there's something that's actually helpful or secure, or like I remember the workshop I had gone to, the person was dreaming that they were stuck in a bed high in the sky or something, but she had a cozy blanket in the bed.
Mm.
So it's like something good amongst all of the bad with nightmares.
I think, you know, I was surprised that he was stronger than me, and
Yeah.
then realizing that he was going to push me down, you know. Somehow I trusted, I guess, that I went up the staircase. But I think what kind of saved me is waking up. I because I felt like I had no escape, and you know, in a fraction of a second I realized, you know, he's going to do it. He's going to push me down. And then it was very steep, a lot of stairs. I said, I won't make it. And then I woke up, but I didn't see any. I think there were some right behind him with two doors, you know, but I feel like there was no escape. You know, there was no.
Oh, that's so interesting that there were two doors behind him.
Yes.
Mm.
Maybe then, you know, maybe those doors, but they were closed. They were, you know, but
Because then you can dream the dream forward, right? You can imagine what could come through.
sure.
So you could imagine, I think. I forget exactly how it works, but does anybody know? Has anybody done Leslie Ellis's work or something like that?
I'm not sure what her work is, but when I have very scary, powerful dreams, occasionally, I try to just lie there with the dream and sort of enter it, you know, when I know it's a dream and I'm with it, sort of replaying parts, and it loses its terror that way for me. And I feel like digesting it. That I see you nodding, Annette. Do you do something like that?
Because we did a dream course at Focusing on Boredom once, and what I'm remembering is I had this funny dream where I was with colleagues and we were riding on the outside of a bus, like we're holding onto a bus going fast, and that my old boss, had jumped off the bus, and I thought that was like crazy because I was going to die if I jumped off the bus. But Jan encouraged me to try to see what would happen, to dream it forward. And then I became like a flea. I became able to jump. So I could jump off and then bounce really high. And there was this sense of, yeah, I can jump off a moving bus in a dream,
Yeah.
which was really cool. Anyways, that was what was coming to mind.
I thought of the waking up as sort of part of the dream in a way. And I think that story that I told, about the
Boy,
guy in World War One,
yes.
is like an example of how the primal terror that we feel is so much stronger than anything, that we experience in our daily lives, in our real lives. Of course, that primal life is more real than real. And that there can be a waking up, that feeling of, oh, I'm going to be in trouble, I'm late, that Roberto said that made me think of that story, that then I can say, oh no, I'm okay. It's sort of like waking up in real life and saying, oh, it's not like that I'm going to die if this person is disappointed in me or angry at me or, whatever.
Hmm.
Uh,
But is there, yeah, thank you, Illinois. This kind of panic that, you know what I mean? That almost
yeah.
like life and death,
Yes,
situation,
yes.
you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and it's so,
Primal terror is so
yeah.
real.
I'd like to tell y'all about when I had night before last. Very complicated, but the zinger piece is that I had to put on my shoes and they were all muddy and they didn't match. There were like a little pile of shoes and they were just not right. And I was at a retreat with a bunch of other professional friends. And there was just this overwhelming, I'm never going to belong to these people. I'm never going to get this. They're going to see all of this. And I'm either going to be barefoot or I'm going to have on these bad shoes. And just the sense of being very small and helpless.
Mm.
And so when I woke up and went to my chair where I rest for a few minutes after I wake up, I went to my chair to rest a minute, and there was a part of me that was just so pissed off because now I'm going to be gloomy and now I'm going to feel like I'm worthless and now I'm not going to belong. And this is just going to ruin my day. I was very pissed off about that. And then I remembered one of Mr. Genlin's things about you make the dream be a whole thing in itself, an entity, the whole dream, and that you can focus, invite the whole thing to come with you, come in, be with you. So I did that. And Annette, as you said, I started, I could see that small one that was never going to be accepted. And it was that she couldn't think of anything else that she could. It was like Roberto, you knew there was no other resources.
Mm.
And then so I just sat, there with her, and I started remembering, it just started coming to me, the videos that my son sends me of my grandchildren and how they just turn and go do something else. in their little play area. If one, like the little one comes over where the big one is and she's not in a mood to be with him, she just looks around and then she goes over here to do something else. Or if she won't let him have something, then he looks around and he goes and does something else. And then there's this independent play where there's a next thing that just comes in their little heads. And that very young one in me, it was like all of a sudden, you know, she felt some camaraderie or possibility that, well, you know, okay. And then I just sat there for a few minutes with these memories of these various things my grandchildren are doing in this kind of companion play. You know, they're side by side, but they're not together. And it was just very reassuring. And that little shift, you know, the shift that you wait and hope might come sometime, it just came. And that angry part sort of resolved itself, because the little bitty girl, if they could do it, she could do it. And she would just play with something else. She also in the dream had a jacket that was too small.
Huh.
And she needed to put something on over something. And it made me remember when I was 4 years old, I went into Mother's cedar chest where she kept all the old things from the family. And there was a baby top that I had been mine. And I remember trying to put that on. And I just ripped it, because it was, you know, 10 years old or something. And I tried to get it to go and I just ripped it down the back. And so I had that sense in the dream, like, golly, the old stuff doesn't fit. I'm messing up the new stuff. Yeah.
So vivid and striking, that sense of the shoes all in a muddy the muddy shoes, or not wearing any shoes and not being accepted.
And young things, you know, that could happen to somebody who's 4. And you come home and everything's all muddied up and you're a mess and they won't let you in, which did happen to me on occasion.
That they didn't let you in?
Yeah, you know, my old siblings were in there and none of them wanted to be the one to have to clean me up. And so they would just, you have to stay outside, you can't come in. But it wasn't traumatic, but those times weren't traumatic. But yeah, you know, that sense of you don't know what to do then. I didn't know what to do then.
Yeah.
Thinking there's a help in the dream. Like Annette was
Yes.
help. Is there help in the dream? And something moved or became possible.
Because I focused with it. I think if I hadn't focused with it,
Yeah.
the idea of my grandchildren having autonomy, having agency, somehow soothed the dream.
I think one of the questions that Gene asks in his book is, what should have happened
Ooh.
in that dream?
That's good. Roberto should have been stronger.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
That I should be stronger. And then that I was surprised that he was going to overpower me. And then but I felt that I could be stronger than him,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
and
right,
I wasn't, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
BJ, do you have a sense of what should have happened in the dream?
Not yet. Well, I guess maybe I should have been able to be like my grandchildren and do something else rather than be so, what is it? Pema Chodron, the Tibetan Buddhist nun, says, if we live for their praise, we will die by their blame.
Oh.
Isn't that
Wow.
good? And that what should have happened was I wasn't going to die from their blame. I could be like little Win and just turn and go find something else to do.
I asked because I had such a strong feeling of the older siblings should have come and given you some shoes and helped you to put them on.
Yeah.
You're so alone in that dream.
And the thing is that it's not alive anymore at all, which is something that Ann Weiser Cornell talks about, how it's often after a shift comes, I don't have to hate anything anymore, or I don't have to wish it would go away anymore. It's something, it kind of dematerializes or something. It loses the negativity, the bite. So that the bad thing in the dream kind of lost its bite after I focused with it.
It loses its power, no?
Yeah. But it doesn't well, in that case, it loses its identity as something bad. It's like it just evaporates or becomes a different energy, maybe. I haven't thought about these things before. I just remember the hope of it when Ann Weiser Cornell went through this long thing for 2 or 3 months. Her example was a boyfriend, a man she had a crush on, and how the agony and different people in the group would say, what happened? What finally happened? How did it work itself out? And she would say, I don't know. It's just not there. It's just not there anymore. And it was such a hope-filled thing that, wow, just might not be there anymore.
I think of dreams as just being very powerful messages, and the message of your dream, Roberto, is something about helping each other to be stronger or to stand up to that danger, and your dream, BJ, about we all need each other to help us find shoes that we like, the shoes to walk in, or to be comfortable being barefoot. My sister was almost expelled from college for refusing to wear shoes. She loves being barefoot. But the individual dreams can also be kind of group dreams. But I'm less it's like something doesn't want that little one in you to have to turn away and find something else to play with. even though I know that was a relief and that was good for you. I'm just saying that for me, not for you.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, thank you, and, once you say it out loud, then it has another way to be alive in you too, I suppose. To, because now it's a thing in you that has this deep sympathy, and that then you get to greet that in yourself, and
Right.
then it can move ahead for you as well.
Roberto, I wonder if you would like to see what happens if you go back into the dream, if you
Mm.
want to see what your felt sense does to it now.
I was thinking no, I'm listening to you, Annette, and I was thinking what Lynn said about helping each other in the danger to be stronger. And I think that anyway, but this is trying to share. Okay, well, I guess my partner and I tend to argue, quite frequently. So sometimes it's about, and I was proud of me yesterday. I, I didn't, because there's an argument, that we get, um, it can come with a lot of feelings, strong feelings. So I was proud because I didn't let the, um, I guess I didn't feel like it wasn't about winning or losing, but it was about me getting my words out. And then, but I didn't fell into panic. Um, and I could continue arguing without losing what I wanted to say. So in that sense, I kind of related to what Lynn said, um, helping each other in the danger to be stronger, um, stronger to kind of continue my argument, argue back and able to say what I needed to say. So that's how I kind of interpret it a little bit. So maybe saying what you thinking of what you said, I guess me going back in a way is like going back to the dream on Sunday to Monday night, but then to an argument of yesterday, right? And then maybe kind of gathering my strength to defend myself, you know, not silence myself,
Mm.
you know. So,
And I think that's beautiful. It's like the dream continued inside you, or, without you thinking about it even.
yeah, that's
And it came
interesting.
up again.
Sure.
I wonder if there's anything that you would want to say to the group that takes courage to say, or that you would want that to be known, that argument. There's anything that we need to help you to be stronger to say.
Yeah, you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, um, I mean, I think you're doing it. I mean, I feel more empowered to speak, you know, and not trying to overthink too much and just say it, just express myself. But um, kind of, I often, like struggle with the way, I think sometimes in my I'm sensitive and I'm guarded, and then I'm always gauging acceptance, but that in itself stifles me, about expressing myself and caring what others think. But I feel in this I have a group, a process group, but in our group, I mean, I'm saying both have been helpful as far as not just saying, expressing, and worry about the consequences later, or not worry. So that helps a lot. The kind of I don't know how to say it, but I think kind of rise to the occasion. I think in the group, and um,
Mhm.
so I find that helpful. But so I want to continue, expressing myself, saying things, trying new things. Doesn't have to be correct or right or doesn't matter. Um, Sometimes I think, well, if we have issues with it, we talk about it. It brings up things from people. We can talk about it.
Curious, Masumi, what's happening for you? And if in our dream talk we used things that weren't easy to understand too, because
Very frankly, I wasn't really understanding, following all the dreams, how, for instance, Robert went afterwards. But then also it was good to hear that he was encouraged to speak and continue to talk. That was good. But I was thinking back the dream that I had repeatedly,
Oh,
and that was a very scary one. So I was sort of in that dream for a while.
what would you tell us that dream, Masumi?
Well, there are two situations really very similar. I know where I want to go, but I cannot find a way to go there. I try to drive a different way, but always come back to the same place. There's a wall in front of me, and I can see a bridge to go there, but I just have no way to find that bridge, how to get to that bridge. So going around, around, and around again and again, and seeing the destination, but not being able to go there.
Wow.
Also, there's another place. I am in a room and I want to go down. It's a very huge room. And I want to go down the stairs and then get to the floor part of it. But there's no stairs. And then I open the door around behind me and I try to find the stairs, but I cannot find. So I'm always up there, way up high and looking down the floor. I know where to go. I know where I want to go, but just cannot find the way. Going around the same route, around and around and around. That's a very irritating and fearful dream.
and did you say you still have it lately, or was it from a long time ago?
Well, actually, a long time ago, but I happened to uh, have a dream recently, the same kind of thing, a deadline of my draft is coming, but I cannot finish it. Something like that. Same kind of fearful way of feeling.
Masumi, at the beginning, it was very clear what you said, and I wrote it down. Using courage to speak and continue to talk. You know, uh, I thought it was beautiful. Um,
Excuse me, Roberto, are Are you referring to what Masumi was saying about you and how you were living with your dream? The courage
No,
to be.
I felt, I mean, I don't know, I thought she was talking about her when she said that. I kind
Oh,
of, yeah,
ah,
when she said, but maybe that perhaps
yeah.
she resonated with me a little bit, but I thought it was, um, I mean, she said, she's talking about not knowing, she knows where she wants to go, but not able to get there. And then the using courage to speak and continue to talk.
Mhm.
Maybe the courage is what is needed to get there. I don't know, but so
Masumi, what did you mean?
Well, let's see. I'm not too sure. The words just came out, and I'm struck to hear what I said again, reflected back. But well, oftentimes I think I find that when I have difficulty, it's difficult to continue to talk. But actually, what really is necessary, what should have happened, is that I needed to talk, continue to talk, or we continue to talk
Mm.
instead of just stopping in and just feeling bad.
Mm.
Yeah. I just want to say that last part again, that it gets to be difficult to talk, but what needs to happen is to keep talking and not stop when it feels bad.
Exactly. Yes. What reminds me is that the workshop that I am going to give on Sunday to children about international cultural to enhance the international understanding, the differences. And as a facilitator, I wanted to show that it's not a head thing. It's a feeling. When you feel the difference and you don't feel good, you might get angry about the differences, how the other person is thinking, the cultural differences. But what we need is really to continue to talk. Well, let me give you, if I may, there's a situation. I present a situation that two young teenagers happened to stay in the same room in the school excursion. And one person brought up a chocolate bar. And then afterwards, this person had to go to the bathroom. When he came back, the other person ate it all.
Oh,
And what would the person who just presented the chocolate would feel, you know? And there are several questions, alternative questions. Very mad. It shouldn't happen. That it's a very rude thing to do, to eat without asking. The other one would say, "Oh, it's just a friend, so it's okay." And then actually, this can happen in actual situation. But what would you do? You feel get upset, and is it all right to just stay there and then be upset all the time? What is the solution? What should the next step? The first thing I would like them to feel is just to get the feeling, how it would be to find out what you brought, a chocolate, disappeared while you were gone. How do you feel about it? And then afterwards, with that angry feeling, what is the next step? to be able to reconcile, to be friends. And we suggest the situation to take part in a role play and then do the conversation, you know. And I think what I would like to suggest afterwards, well, actually, what they want, I want them to experience the conversation, the role play, and then try to figure out what would do good to be friends again. Am I presenting the situation all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so through those experiences of conversation of the role play, I would like them to figure out what's the nice way to become friends again. Some get clues. But what I really would like them to know is that what they are feeling about the differences is only the part of losing the disappearing the chocolate, and that's only they are. If you focus on that situation, you don't become friends. It's hard to become friends. But if you continue to start talking about, hey, what do you have as hobbies? What do you like? Oh, what is your dream? Things like that. And you get to know a person better. And to get to know a person better, other than the part that you are thinking of cultural differences, the value differences about chocolate, if you get to know a person better, in the total, there's a clue to become friends again. I want them to learn that through the workshop that I'm giving. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense with you or not, but
Musume, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. I had an experience last Sunday. I had a Super Bowl party at my house, and I invited a number of friends. And one friend is a friend from playing bridge who is a bit private in many ways, but he came and it was a potluck party. And we were all sitting around, and he went into my cabinets and pulled out anything that he thought he wanted to eat. And he brought it out, opened it up, went into another cabinet, took out some plates, poured it in the plates, and I was in a way shocked and irritated. And I didn't confront him about it because he has done it in other ways at other times. Like he is go to a bookshelf and say, "Oh, that's an interesting book. You mind if I borrow it?" And just take it off with him. And I guess one day I will have the courage to confront him, but I don't know how to do it in a gentle way that would interrupt our friendship.
That's such a big question.
I have no answer, but that reminds me of Brene Brown's quote that the most compassionate people are the most boundaried people.
Oh,
So there's hope, I suppose.
oh, wow.
We can learn to kindly say no. You.
But with Masumi, with your workshop, I wondered if the person whose chocolate was eaten would have to say that he was upset about it before.
well, actually, the way he thinks, the notion he has is, what friendship is more important, not chocolate. So
I'm
it's
assuming
okay with him. It's okay with him that
Oh.
the other person eats the chocolate
I see,
Friendship is more important
right, it
than
is
chocolate.
problems to him.
I think the same way in my situation, but in your story, Miss Sumi, I was taken that the person who had the chocolate didn't share it. He opened the chocolate bar, but didn't share it with the other person. The other person may be jealous. That's chocolate. I want some.
Yeah. Well,
So you made him the bad guy, but the other one was really the bad guy. The one who had the chocolate because they didn't share.
yeah, but that's the value you have. You know, the person should share whatever you like, but it's not for the other person. It's okay. It's only a chocolate. Friendship is more important.
The one whose chocolate it was, who went to
Yes.
the bathroom, and he comes back
Yes,
and he says,
it's
inside,
gone.
himself, "Where's my chocolate?" And
Yes.
and I'm with him.
Mhm.
What is he feeling?
That's what he feels. I mean, it's only a chocolate, you know,
Oh,
if
he
he likes
feels
it.
it's okay. It's only a chocolate. What if he doesn't feel that? What if he feels he didn't ask me if he could have
Yeah.
some?
Yeah, so that's the point that they have to figure out how to become better friends, because with differences in values, you know, if you want it, you can have it. One person is, the other person is all right. The friendship is more important. How do they really reconcile, you know, and have good friends? Because the person who ate it all is not feeling guilty at all, but uh, well, actually, um, the, actually, we are the observers. What do you think about the situation? The one would say it's awful that the person eats it all without asking, and the other observer would say it's okay. It's friendship. This is more important, and then they can sort of figure out how they want to see the differences in feelings when they see that situation, and what do you think they can reconcile afterwards.
But it doesn't sound to me like there's anything to reconcile if they both feel it's okay. That was confusing to me.
Well, I should have said the observers. As observers, what do you think?
The observers might feel different, but the two boys, they don't have to reconcile. They can just easily be friends because they don't
Right,
conflict.
exactly. They don't. They have a little difficult, but as observers,
Yes,
the
we have the
observers,
difficulty.
yes, there are differences in looking at things.
Right,
So one would say, how awful, and the other would say, oh, it's okay. And
right.
then how can the observers can reconcile?
Masumi, that's very clever because they're one step removed and it's not my chocolate. I didn't eat your chocolate. You didn't make me mad because you ate my chocolate. But by being one step removed, they could still have a very strong opinion, but be learning ways to negotiate values with each other, negotiate opinions with each other. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I should have really explained it better in the first place.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what that's what we are aiming at.
Mhm,
When you
mhm.
when you sense the differences, I want them to feel how they feel, not think. You know, it's morally, it's this should be done.
Yeah.
But what is the feeling when you find a chocolate gone?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and after the feeling, I want them to figure out how to, when you see the differences in values or in looking at things or feelings, how can they be friends again?
What's your perspective, your personal perspective? That is, you
I-
set
I-
the challenge to your students, but how about you?
Me? Well, I probably get very mad at myself feeling, so first I would recognize my feeling first. And then, is there any way, think back, is there any way I can understand the other person? And then I would go into, just as I said before, no, I would like to know more about the other parts of that person, about the hobby, about what the family background and what the history or whatever. And then when we continue the conversation, talk more, I get to know that person better. If a person is like that, the chocolate part is only a little part. And I get to know a person in other places. Then I get to be friends with that person. That's my perspective. So that's why I said talk more with other person.
Well, in my situation, I fear to confront this friend I have because I feel he's not really that interested in me. And he's more interested in eating all the goodies that he can find.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Marvin, I felt that like this is something you want to try to do, like not a, kind of you're struggling with this, right? You said trying to say things in a gentle way that it would not interfere with the friendship, or and I think in our group you would trying to do the same too. How to say something in a different way that it would not push them away or something like that. You know.
I was
Yeah.
thinking that also, that
Absolutely.
you've been trying to do that, Marvin, and
Yeah.
I have a friend that calls it peeping, that to make a peep when somebody does something that bothers you. And it's very different than the idea of confronting the person.
Yeah. Ah,
Peep, to say, it bothered me a bit when you opened all the cupboards and took the food, or when it's very different than saying, you did this. I find it very difficult also, especially when I don't want to be annoyed about something, but I am annoyed about it. Then there has to be a way of saying it, because it will be in the way. Masumi, I won't be as interested in their hobbies and background if there's something that's bothering me, and I have to find a way of saying it without pushing the other person away, taking responsibility for that it is bothering me.
Well, yes, there's an urge to solve the problem first before I go beyond it. Is that what you mean? If you are annoyed with something, you cannot go forward to talk about other things.
Right. That I want the person to know that I'm annoyed. But I want them to they don't have to do anything about it. Maybe they don't even have to change, but somehow I have to stand up for the little one in me and say, that bothered me.
Well, not at the time, but after you become more to know more about that other person,
Uh-huh.
then you might say, "Oh, by the way, at that time I was very much annoyed."
Uh-huh.
On
Why
the
would,
other hand,
I'm sorry.
now, if you're not interested in getting to know each other, then it stops, isn't it? But would, I probably like to encourage people to try to know the other person. There are more parts of this person
Yeah,
that it might interest you.
yeah.
Yes. Susan,
You
I'm
know,
sorry I stopped you.
no, I was gonna ask you something. I kind of lost it. Oh, I know. It was, maybe this is a difference. And I wonder if it's a cultural difference, but I mean, I certainly would have trouble. I'm not saying I would be able to do this, but I would resent the person if I didn't say anything at the time. And I probably wouldn't, because I'd be stuck, like, oh, I'd be afraid to say something and I'd want to. And I would be afraid that what would come out of me, that this has actually happened for me in similar situations. When I have opened my mouth, what's come out has been, hey, how could you, something that the other person would feel very embarrassed by. And I
Something
think,
shaming rather than,
yeah, yeah, I'm unable to give a peep, like, oh, where's my chocolate? I'm unable to have that, what is that, awareness that the chocolate eater is not a monster, maybe.
Well, Susan, in my case with the guy I mentioned, there's a couple of things that come to mind. Our friendship is not as deep as I would like it, but although I'm inquiring about his life, he doesn't inquire much about my life. So there's a limitation that I see, and I sort of don't want to. He's a sensitive guy. I don't want to poke any holes and endanger what we do have.
Yeah. No, I can feel your dilemma. I mean, understand it. It's, for me, I have to somehow be over my extreme upset. And the fact that you like chocolate.
A bag of potato chips. I mean, it's sort of like the chocolate bar. That's
Mhm.
but the fact that he feels so comfortable or so daring that he can just go ahead and go into the cabinets, it's kind of striking to me. I wouldn't do. It's not something I
Oh,
would do in another person's house.
me
But
neither.
I'm
No,
one,
Let me add about the research about this, and then they collected they did a questionnaire, ABCD, what kind of feeling do you have? And then A and B would be more or less, it's terrible that you do things. And C and D would be, oh, it's okay, it's only chocolate. And then at one school in Japan, many were A and B. And in China, in Shanghai, many were C and D. We show them the differences of the researches, of the responses
Hmm.
of the observers part. And then when we see the differences, we are shocked. Oh, there are people in other culture that they feel C and D rather than A and B. And then we all want to go back to it. Is it only the cultural difference? inside only one classroom. There must be all those differences, variety of values. And we don't want to just tell the children that it's in the country's cultural differences. Among us too, there are differences in values. How do we reconcile? How do you take in all those differences? This is also another question that we pose to the children. To think about it.
I was thinking about what Masumi you were saying, to develop a
Yeah.
connection, to be able to express or a connection or relationship to express, in this case, difficult feelings. And I think that's what Marvin is also talking about, and I guess we all have the dilemma that, to say the most difficult things it takes time or maybe it never happens, so, but I think it's rooted on the connection and relationship, right, to the person.
I
The
think
more
that's
we,
one
I
of
guess,
the
get to know
biggest-
them, you can say something. Excuse me, Lynn?
I'm sorry, I
No.
didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. You were saying something.
I was just saying that seems like the biggest thing that we're working on. And I wondered if Mary is here with us are you here, Mary, with your camera turned off? There you are. Hi. Because you did do that last week. You peeped, when you said that it really bothers you when you're in a breakout room and people are talking about somebody else in the group or that and that you're left holding that. And I wondered if it was hard for you to say that, and if that was a peep for you, like that was a big thing to say, I think, and a big thing for us to think about.
Can't hear.
You're muted.
I find my ability to address different aspects in a group, it's changeable, but I'm guessing that it's because of maybe some past trauma, that because it happened repeatedly in the first year with force, I just could never find the specific words for what I didn't like. So it just
What you didn't like.
Yeah, it just finally came out.
Wow, that's a real achievement, like a forward movement, that the words finally came to you after a few years, right?
Yes, absolutely. It always feels very connected when something insoluble finally can, it's risky because I'm not exactly sure what's going to come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And I apologize for being off camera. The things that were supposed to come for tonight's Valentine's dinner didn't come, so I've been moving around and I was making a card.
Oh.
But I love Masumi. I love your example, and I loved what Roberto was saying. It touches my heart, and Marvin.
Mary, I was a little unclear. Could you say what upsets you, if it still upsets you?
Well, I mean, we haven't been doing breakout rooms, but in the first, it wasn't the first year of force, but the first year that I was in force, it was a larger group than it is now. And there were, like maybe 5 different people vying for kind of loyalty outside of the group or something. Each person wanted something a little different. But, I think now that I've experienced this, the next time it happens in a breakout room anywhere, I'll just inform the person that I'm really not going to hold this for you. You can't use me, to criticize somebody else in the group. We'll have to take it to the group. And whatever the consequences are, because, and I'll have to figure out why it bothers me so much. I'll try to figure that out.
Right, thanks.
Mary, just to say the metaphor or the symbol or image, whatever it is, the very first time you said it last year, I'm left holding something that goes through the week was very, poetic and at the same time really precise, because I could imagine what that was like. You say something and then you're free, but now I've got it. And when I carry it on. And yeah, thanks.
It is a very powerful metaphor.
Yes, I'm trying to understand. I don't think I quite got it. There's two things, right? Like, it's not just if somebody were to focus about something, because we focus about our interactions with others all the time. Is it that it's the combination of that, the other person they're talking about?
It's, we had maybe at that point we had 18 people, and each time someone was really denigrating someone in the group, and that's just not, it's just not okay. Like with words like, hate or,
So they
to-
weren't focusing on what was arising in them because of something somebody else said or something like that.
we weren't even focusing, and we weren't even able to do what we were supposed to be doing in the breakout group at all.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
It struck me that if I say something carelessly just to get it off my chest, that I'm leaving someone, or maybe the whole group, holding something. And that was very powerful. And your saying that made me really think about that, and how complicated it is to be free and to be yourself, and to say, and at the same time to recognize that anything careless could leave other people holding something, and that isn't what my intention would be at all. If I get something off my chest, I'm giving it I'm giving it to you to hold. That's that's worse than the chocolate or something.
Hmm.
It is complicated. And we just are moving along, bumbling along. Okay. in my case with you guys, when I was so just undone with Jim that I just finally said what I thought. I was really surprised the next week how many of you were undone. And the things you said, not to me, but your own feelings, how upsetting it was, how you were afraid, how, you know, that the young one that is watching the parents argue or whatever comes up for us. And of course, you can only do what you can do in the moment. But in retrospect, I would like to think that the next time I have those kinds of issues or something, that I could have handled it differently. I don't know that I could have. Even now, I don't know that I could have. But it was a real appreciation for me and a puzzlement for me that which gets me to the point, the last point, which is we don't really know the impact we have on others, for good or ill. I was astonished that you were upset. You know, Rachel, a divorce mediator, and she was upset. You know, but wow, imagine that. And it was useful for me and, you know, a learning for me. I left you holding something that was not yours at all.
I have a question for us, and it comes from Eckhart Tolle in his book. I think it's in New Earth. And in New Earth, he talks about a session that was very powerful with the client. The client leaves, goes home, and his friend comes over, and they're going to go for dinner. And the friend comes in the room and says, "What happened in here? Did somebody die?" Like they can feel energy in the room. And I think opens a window or something. But anyways, they go to dinner. And then there's a client, like a customer at the restaurant, who becomes really irate, really angry, and is a terrible customer. And Eckhart Tolle says in the story, he thinks the bad energy that he helped clear out of the client followed them to the restaurant and found a new host, a new place to be.
You know, maybe.
And so my question right now is, as I'm listening to us, I'm thinking, when we focus, do we let the energy dissipate? Because we aren't left holding it. But when we kind of pour out, when we, you know, don't digest before we share, it's like we give that energy to somebody else. Like it, anyways, does that make sense? The question is like, that when we focus something, it shifts, right? It has that felt shift. And I don't feel like if I hold something big for somebody, I don't feel like I'm carrying it, and they don't seem to be carrying it anymore. But when we just, it kind of is an energy that lives somehow and can stick to you, and you hold it, or you.
Right. Well, I think what you're pointing at is that there's something so different about focusing and pouring out, but that sometimes I've learned that sometimes the pouring out has to come first before there can be focusing. And the thought that I had was that we're sort of pioneers in trying to figure all of this out with each other. And maybe there needs to be something like harm reduction, that when you're needing to pour out something, that it be with somebody that doesn't know the other person, that it be maybe Anne Weiser Cornell would say, there's something in me that feels blah, 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 or as Mary said, to sort of own it as her own feeling rather than I think that all of these things are things that we're working on,
Hmm.
of how to say, how to peep when you're hurt, so it doesn't go underground, how to pour out with some awareness of the other holding it or something.
When certainly with friends, we can say, I just need to vent. Can I do that? Right. And then but it's because you're not talking about your friend, you're talking about somebody else and they're holding space for it.
But there can be a big problem with that, because the circle of friends, each one will pour out with another about the other, and that can be in a community empowerment group too, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm just going to turn my heater off. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And yet, what you were saying brings me back to teaching about the origins of our religious feelings, and just as human beings, no wonder we create little devils that sit on our shoulders, and some external bad thing that followed me to the restaurant and jumped on that other guy. I mean, it seems like you could believe that as well as anything else.
And I think that's what he calls the pain body, is these feelings that
Yes, he does.
latch on.
Lynn, I just want to register. I heard what you said, and I really appreciate it, because when I was talking to you, Jim, I remember saying 4 or 5 times, holding silently is not enough. That's not it. We need something else. We need something more if we're going to be this close a community of people. Silent holding and nodding is not enough. And so what I hear you saying is that find ways to articulate what some other options might be besides silent holding is nice. I'm glad you're thinking of it. And I like harm reduction as well. And Marvin, I'm just going to say thank you to Marvin. Marvin again and again said, BJ and Jim, y'all need to do something somewhere else. Something needs to happen. You were articulating harm reduction, a harm reduction wish.
Do you have a sense, BJ, of what needs to happen?
Oh, I liked what you said. What I heard you, but there are many things, right? I remember that night I said, as a layperson in a city where we can't have private conversations, if we're on a board and we're required to talk about something and make a decision, we are not allowed to take somebody to lunch and talk about it. And that's one of the reasons I'm so sensitive about not talking about stuff. But what I heard you say, one option might be that we knowingly find someone. And I think someone in the group is not a bad idea myself. That we find someone in the group and that we say to someone else in the group, as I have done with Susan on several occasions, this is driving me crazy and I need to vent, as Annette said. And it just helps to have a perspective, to bring another perspective, to blow off the pain of it. So that's one thing I heard you say. And beyond that, I didn't hear anything specific.
But, I think that I think you were saying, BJ, that you were left us to holding all these feelings, right? And then you were struck about our comments or reactions. But that in itself took us to the place today where you are. It helped you shift something that perhaps you needed to hear us. You know what I mean? So in a way, it, I think somehow you benefited from the interactions, I think.
Yes.
You know, from, yeah, I mean,
No, I'd really invite Jim to just come more here by just speaking how you're feeling, how you are in this group now. And also maybe Kate, but I mean, I'm just feeling a need to Jim, you're so silent. Don't be so silent. Or, you know, if you are, but I want to make space for you.
Well, let me say something a little more theoretical. It sounds like we don't want people to talk about other people, but people have feelings about other people. And if we're going to be connecting across differences, and we're not going to be expressing the differences, and we're not even going to be talking about the differences to anybody else, how is this project going to proceed?
I think we're trying to figure that out.
mm,
And we're not saying that we can't talk about things we have to talk about, feelings we have.
Well, yeah, I think we're trying to find all of the intricacy of that. That that certainly we have to express our feelings. But then there's something different, as Annette pointed out, between the pouring out and the focusing.
Well, here's what Mary told a story about force 2 years ago. And clearly there was some conflict because people were talking about somebody in a breakout room to her. And here we are 2 years later. We don't know who these people are or what they said about this other person. How are we going to connect across differences if 2 years later, just some random sample conflict, which may be the rule rather than the exception, has lasted 2 years and nothing's happened?
I don't think nothing has happened, Jim. And I think a great deal has happened since I joined the group. But there is a difference between talking about our experience and criticizing another person openly with a third or many other people. And that will get back to the person who's being criticized. And that's hurtful. So how to avoid that hurt, I think, is what Lynn is and Annette are speaking about.
That's
There's a
not
danger
the
to
same
that.
issue that I'm bringing up. That's a different issue. And I find, for example, that things get back to other people that never were said in the first place. So it's not even that things get back to other people, things get distorted. But the issue that I have is there seems to be a lot of conflict and nobody wants to talk about conflict. Everybody wants to feel good and like everybody. But in practice, there's all this conflict. It either doesn't get addressed or it gets addressed in some strange way and it comes back in some distorted form to somebody else or whatever. And I don't know. I feel like if this were my project, I'd give up. But luckily it's not, so you don't have to.
Well, I felt like last time we brought I don't know if I would call it a conflict, but my issue with the group to the group, and we talked about it for quite a while, and now I don't even really remember what we talked about. It felt settled. It felt resolved. I didn't keep thinking about it. So there's a sense that when something's big enough, we have to have the courage to bring it to the group for the group to hold.
I think, yeah, I think we're gonna have to stop, and we're just forming all of this. But it seems like Jim and BJ have brought their conflict to the group and have talked about it, right?
It's our gift to you.
Yes, yes, right.
Right.
And something more is needed, BJ is saying. And we haven't,
Oh, she's not.
No, I meant, you gave that example about harm reduction. And I
Yeah.
think what I heard Roberto saying is we've had some harm reduction. We've had some things stir up.
right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I thought that you were saying at the end there needs to be another step that we haven't figured out yet. And what I was imagining that you were saying was that maybe you and Jim needed to talk to somebody in the group or out of the group about the conflict that you are,
Oh,
that you are struggling with.
no.
We haven't gotten there. We've gotten a lot. I think a lot has developed, at least in me, Jim. I can't say for anybody else, but I've learned a tremendous amount about conflict and about connection in the last few years. But we're still in the midst of it. There's still a lot more of the nuances of it. When you need to pour out, how do you do it in a way that is not leaving the other person to hold something? What we need to maybe figure out, because there has to be that, but then for some people, or at some times, or something like that, and then the focusing needs to follow it, where something can be released. Do you have any last things to say, Kate, to end this group?
Yes, I have something to say. When Jim was talking, I was thinking, oh, I have a suggestion. Let's talk about each other openly. Let's criticize each other openly.
It sounds like a game. I'm going to send you all a video that I'm sharing with the class. Jim, I'm going to give it to you to send to the therapy class of Carl Rogers and the encounter groups. And there's a lot of confrontation in the encounter groups, and just want to see what it brings to you, these early attempts to connect that are in our history. So
great.
And I'm going to find the email I sent you all last year about nonviolent communication, because that is a tool we can use to openly raise issues.
those things are so helpful, but the pouring out sometimes has to come first, and then what do we, and I think that's what Jim is asking also, like, what do we do with that, this human need to be dismissive to other people if you're hurt by them, to be critical, to be, I mean, we talk about being non-judgmental, but when there's some kind of insult to the self, it's very, very hard without stuffing it or freezing or being silent to know how to express it. Anyway, we will continue with this, and if anybody has any thoughts about it, we'll read about it. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully everybody will be here then. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I got a kick out of your suggestion, Kate. Thank you, Masumi.
Maybe worth thinking about.
We-
Bye, Lynn. I can't seem to get gone.
well, maybe we need to say, well, we did get there. I couldn't, yeah.
No, this was, we needed the first part. It was very touching, the dreams.
Yes, 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 yes.
I can't find how to get out of here. Well,
Well, I'll get out and then you will.
couldn't do it.
Then meeting.
Okay.
Bye.